Young and the Restless 2-week spoilers March 10th to 21st. Billy and Nick get desperate. Phyllis's life on the line. Monday, March 10th on the Young and the Restless, Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, and Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, have a talk about Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, who wants her to be his friend. I think he wants her to be more than that. Maybe a friend with benefits. But Audra reminds Nate that Holden is the only source of information they have about Damian Kane, Jermaine Rivers. Audra tells him that Holden was Damian's friend, and then he went to work for him, and now Holden seems to resent Damian. He told Audra that Damian has a nasty temper. So when Holden is asking about, can we be friends? You know, he doesn't know anybody in town. Nate actually texts back on Audra's phone, yeah, we can be friends, that's fine. Nate's hoping Damian will stick around for Amy Lewis, Valerie Pettiford, and that she gets more time after seeing this cancer doctor. So, he's kind of just playing things by ear as he goes, trying to keep everybody together. Phyllis's captivity crisis. Sharon's forgiveness plea and a deadly scare. On the Young and the Restless. Phyllis is exercising while in captivity. She wants to stay strong to fight off this kidnapper should he or she show up. She spends a lot of time arguing with Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, again on Monday. And Phyllis lets Sharon know she solved the last riddle. After some back and forth and snark, she finally tells her that the answer is forgiveness. Phyllis is again ranting about how she would rather die than forgive Sharon and make peace. Then, like an answered prayer, Phyllis suddenly has awful abdominal pain on Young and the Restless. Literally feels like she's dying. Sharon thinks she's been poisoned and that Phyllis is being punished for not playing the game. Sharon begs their captor for help and gets some hints that lead her to a bottle of water with the antidote to save Phyllis. But this was a huge scare. It's the worst thing that has been done to Sharon and Phyllis so far in captivity, and they are also given another riddle to solve on Monday. Nikki, Nick, and Billy's desperate search for Phyllis and Sharon. Meanwhile, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, Nick, and Billy form a reluctant alliance to find Phyllis, which of course means also finding Sharon. Of course, they're concerned about Sharon. But their main conversation is about Phyllis. They have run out of ideas of where to check, people to call. They've run down all the leads, and everybody is reaching their point of thinking this has turned fatal. Young and the Restless. Holden's flirtation with Claire and Summer's interference. Tuesday, March 11th, Holden decides to broaden his horizons a little bit by chatting up beautiful Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron. She is alone at the bar at the GCAC because Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, her date, is running late. Holden slides up beside her, and they spend some time chatting. I do wonder if Kyle will walk in while handsome Holden is still there talking with Claire because Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, is intentionally running him late. She wants to cause a rift between Kyle and Claire on Young and the Restless. And she overheard Kyle making plans with Claire. So, of course, she is going to make it so he's not there on time. And it's just happenstance that Holden steps in. Maybe that'll be a little wake-up call for Kyle to not let Summer distract him. Captivity drama. Phyllis's tough decision and Tracy's surprising news. Meanwhile on YNR, the kidnapper forces Phyllis to make a very tough decision. Wednesday, March 12th, we have got Tracy Abbott, Beth Maitland, sharing some surprising news with Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman. We also have Alan Lauron, Christopher Cousins, on the cusp of making a proposal. She tells him how happy that he makes her, and he's thrilled that Tracy feels that way, and Alan basically says he wants to marry her. She's stunned. Looks like the engagement is happening. Chance Chancellor Connor Floyd comforts Summer, because heaven knows Kyle is not going to be comforting her after another stunt that she pulled, and Phyllis and Sharon try to take control. Betrayal and traps. Jack's confession, Victor's questions, and Adam's dilemma. Then on Thursday, March 13th, Jack is confessing something to Diane Jenkins, Susan Walters. I'm assuming it's not that he has kidnapped the two women and put them somewhere together, although that would be kind of funny. Phyllis and Sharon fall into a trap, and I guess that's what happens when they try to take control when they are completely out of control and held prisoner in that icky place. Victor Newman, Eric Braden, questions the decisions that Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, is making. And I'm guessing this is about the Abbotts and what he's doing at Newman Media because Victor, of course, wants him trashing Billy, trashing Jack, trashing Jabot, and Adam is always willing to trash Billy. However, Chelsea Lawson Newman, Melissa Claire Egan, is still going to be a factor, and he is trying to woo and win her, and she won't like that. She hates when Adam and Billy are going at each other, So we'll see how far Adam pushes Victor's patience. Young and the Restless cliffhanger. Chance's lead, a fight for life, and a buddy car adventure. Friday on the Young and the Restless, we have got Chance coming to Billy and Nick, and he's got a lead. This is the big deal. It's the first lead they have really had other than finding their cars, which was really a lack of a lead, not a lead. Sharon and Phyllis are in a fight for their lives by the end of the week going into March 17th through the 21st. Nick and Billy are together. They are determined to find Phyllis and Sharon, and after they get that lead from Chance, they're going to take off looking for the ladies. We got a little buddy car adventure, and you know, Billy may get a wake-up call about his feelings for Phyllis when he realizes how worried he is about her. Same for Nick where Sharon is concerned. Phyllis and Sharon will be out of this terrible mess soon. And we'll see who's behind the kidnapping, whether it's friend or foe, and whether Phyllis and Sharon can finally put an end to their long-standing rivalry that everybody is sick of, their friends, their family. Romantic entanglements and family conflicts. Audra's secrets, Summer's sabotage, and Victor's frustrations. So with Billy and Nick in the car out on the hunt after getting that clue from Chance, the big question is will they be the ones to find the ladies? I mean, it'd be kind of wild if both of them got to play White Knight. Billy for Phyllis, Nick for Sharon. Audra is still hiding things from Nate about her past with Holden and their involvement with Tucker McCall, Trevor St. John, and how deep that went. Audra does have Nate's permission to keep using him for info on Damien. But with secrets still hidden, this Audra Holden thing may jeopardize what possibly could be a happily ever after for her and Nate. Summer finds more ways to cause problems for Kyle and Claire, and Victor may give her a high five because he definitely wants Claire away from Kyle, and Claire's pretty much figured out what she's doing. So Summer may go from being passive-aggressive to just outright aggressive with her sabotage. Genoa City were rarely truly peaceful, but tonight, an uneasy stillness wrapped around the town like a warning. Billy Abbott's pulse raced as he tore through the darkened alleyways near the industrial district. His phone pressed tightly to his ear. "Come on, Nick, tell me you've got something," he said, his voice trembling with frustration and fear. On the other end, Nick Newman was in his car, headlights cutting through the night as he sped toward the same area. "Nothing yet," Nick growled. Whoever took Phyllis covered their tracks well. "I've got Victor's security team scanning every camera within a 5-mile radius, but so far, nothing." Billy slammed his hand against a brick wall. "We're running out of time, Nick. You know what these people are capable of. If this is tied to Tucker, or worse, someone from her past." Nick's voice darkened. "Then we're already one step behind. A sinister setup." It all began earlier that day when Phyllis Summers vanished without a trace. She had been meeting with a mysterious investor about a tech deal, a supposed opportunity to regain control of her company and rebuild her reputation after months of chaos. But that meeting never ended. Her phone was found abandoned in the parking garage, her car door still open, and her laptop gone. Billy was the first to notice something was wrong when she missed a meeting at Society. At first, he assumed she was avoiding him after their latest argument. But when Nick called to say she wasn't answering any of his messages either, panic set in. By the time the police arrived, Billy's gut told him the truth. This wasn't just another one of Phyllis's dramatic disappearances. This was a kidnapping. The desperate search. As dawn approached, Billy and Nick joined forces. It was a pairing nobody expected. Two men who had both loved Phyllis in different ways, now united by fear and guilt. Billy was consumed by regret. "If I hadn't pushed her about Tucker, if I just listened when she said she was on to something big," he trailed off, shaking his head. Nick, gripping the steering wheel tightly, shot him a glance. "Don't do that to yourself, Billy. Phyllis is tough. She's gotten out of worse." But even Nick couldn't hide the dread in his eyes. They split up. Billy combed through old contacts of Phyllis's, while Nick paid a tense visit to Tucker McCall. Tucker smirked when Nick burst into his office. "You look tense, Newman. Trouble in Redhead Paradise again?" Nick leaned across the desk, his voice cold. "Don't play dumb. Phyllis met with someone connected to your new tech division this morning. She's missing. You know anything about that?" Tucker raised an eyebrow. "Missing? Now that's dramatic. Even for Phyllis. Maybe she finally realized she's not cut out for business anymore." Nick's jaw tightened. "If I find out you had anything to do with this, Tucker, you'll regret it." As Nick stormed out, Tucker's smirk faded. He pulled out his phone and made a quiet call. "We may have a problem," he murmured. "Phyllis's ordeal." Meanwhile, Phyllis woke in a dimly lit warehouse, tied to a chair. Her head pounded, and her wrists burned where the ropes dug into her skin. Great, she muttered under her breath. Kidnapped again. Just another Tuesday in Genoa City. A shadowy figure stepped from the darkness, a man with cold eyes and a scar running down his cheek. You shouldn't have dug into things that weren't your business, Ms. Summers. Phyllis narrowed her eyes. Oh, so this is about Tucker? Or maybe someone else's dirty secret. You'll have to be more specific. I dig into a lot of people's business. The man's lips curled into a smile. You'll find out soon enough. He turned and left, slamming the door behind him. Phyllis immediately began working at the ropes, thinking fast. Come on, Red, she whispered to herself. You've survived worse. You got yourself out of a fake death. You can handle this. But deep down, she knew this time was different. Whoever was behind this wanted her silenced for good. Billy's breaking point. Back in town, Billy's frustration exploded. He'd been following a trail that led him to a shady shell company registered under one of Tucker's aliases, but the address was fake. He stormed into Crimson Lights, nearly knocking over a chair as he entered. Chelsea, startled, rushed over. Billy, what's going on? She's gone, Chelsea. Phyllis. Someone took her and I can't. He stopped, his voice breaking. I can't lose her again. Chelsea touched his arm gently. You won't. You're doing everything you can. Billy looked at her, his eyes haunted. It's not enough. Moments later, Nick called. We've got a lead, he said breathlessly. One of Victor's guys picked up a van matching the description near the old docks. Billy was already out the door before Nick could finish. The docks showdown. The docks were deserted when Billy and Nick arrived, flashlights cutting through the fog. The air was thick with tension and the faint sound of water lapping against the pier. Billy spotted tire tracks near an abandoned warehouse. This is it, he whispered. They crept inside, weapons drawn. Billy holding a metal pipe he'd grabbed from the truck, Nick clutching a flashlight like a club. The air smelled of oil and rust. Then they heard it, a faint sound. A voice.